What is good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for your latest transfer news video. And we have had a bombshell drop out of France regarding PSG and Donnarumma and Chelsea. Are we interested? We've got the latest on the Garnacho situation. And are Brighton going to do it again? Are they going to sell another midfielder for a massive profit? We're going to get into each and every one of those players right here, right now, starting with the latest on PSG and Donnarumma. This is the latest. Paris Saint-Germain exclude Donnarumma from their squad for the UEFA Super Cup. Donnarumma will not sign a new deal at PSG. There's no agreement and he will 100% leave the club this summer or in 2026 as a free agent. Gijo's camp feels it's unfair situation for the goalkeeper. And then we also had Donnarumma will leave PSG for sure, most likely this or eventually next summer. The relationship is completely broken after the club decided to exclude him from the squad for the Super Cup. Understand the Premier League is the most likely destination. So it is looking like the Premier League is going to be the desired and the most likely destination for Donnarumma. And if we take a look at the top clubs in the league, who's in need of a goalkeeper? Liverpool, they're fine. They've got Alisson. Man City, they've got Edison. They've just brought in James Trafford to, eventually take over Edison's spot. So they're fine. Arsenal, they've got Raya. They've just brought in Kepa to play backup. So they're fine in the goalkeeping department. So what clubs could be interested in this potential move? Well, here's two of them. Chelsea and Manchester United have inquired about Donnarumma in recent hours. No concrete offers so far. Now, since the news had come out at Donnarumma's exclusion from the squad and the game against Tottenham in the Super Cup, these rumours were floating around. It has since had an update on it regarding Chelsea's stance on this situation. This is the latest on the stance. Chelsea are not in active talks to sign Donnarumma despite links. He's not a target as Chelsea are happy with their goalkeepers. Well, that one was, it was stopped pretty quickly, wasn't it? But I would like to pose a question. So Sanchez, one of the things that we criticise him on the most is his ball playing capabilities, especially with the short passing, playing out to the defenders from the back or the midfielders. That's where he tends to make the most of his silly mistakes that lead to goals or dangerous attacks for the opposition. But the thing that we praise him on the most is his shot-stopping capability. Now, Donnarumma, quality top international goalkeeper, is also a great shot stopper, one of the best around. However, he has the same question marks on his distribution and his ball playing capabilities. Luis Enrique asks Donnarumma to do exactly the same thing that Maresca asks of Sanchez, and he makes the same errors and the same mistakes that lead to goals and dangerous attacks. So, my question to you is, would you go out to spend money around 29 million? That's what it's touted for, which is a good price for the keeper himself. Would you go out and spend that money on a keeper that is going to have the same issues as what we have with Sanchez? And we've known that Maresca's trying to tweak it a little bit, that not making Sanchez go out from the back all the time. We saw it in the AC Milan game of recent where he's played that long ball up to João Pedro. So it's not something that's just happened. It's been sort of developing, especially part of the back end of the season where Sanchez is having more variety in the way that he's playing the ball out from the back. Is there a point in us going out and being interested in a goalkeeper that potentially could have the same issues in his ball playing capabilities, but in terms of shot stopping, they're in and around the same? Because we talk about Sanchez's shot stopping all the time of how good it is, and if he could just do better with his distribution, he would be a top keeper. Love to get your thoughts on that one. Of course, they've said that we're not interested, we're not going from him, so the rumour's pretty much squashed. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. If we would go for a goalkeeper, shouldn't we be going for someone that fixes the issues that we have with Sanchez, which is the distribution? Let me know your thoughts on that one. Drop a comment below. Now, we've had some further updates on the Garnacho situation. I know we're desperately wanting to hear some more on Xavi Simons. That at the moment seems to be a bit of a standstill. The news that's coming out is still the same. We're still talking about the potential swap deals of a few players in there. So there's nothing really new to report on that one. In terms of Garnacho, I've not seen for a long time a player that has begged to come to a club and do everything in his power to make sure that transfer happens than what's happening with Garnacho at the moment. This is the latest on the Garnacho to Chelsea situation. Chelsea offered the chance to include players in Garnacho talks, Vega, Nkunku, Jackson or Disasi. United want money and rejected this opportunity. Chelsea want to pay around £30 million. Man United want 50. Garnacho is working hard and being attentive to his phone in case he gets a call to travel for a medical. Maresca has a plan for Alejandro and his development. Then we had this Garnacho message to United: Chelsea or I stay here and don't play football for 6 to 12 months. He is definitely pushing for this move to go to your club to say, like, if I'm not going to Chelsea, you don't sell me to Chelsea. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm going to sit here and just live my best life for the next 6 to 12 months. He's put United in a very tough situations. There's not a lot of other suitors or not a lot of other clubs that are pushing for them. And I think that's down to the fact that he's making it so clear that he wants to stay in the Premier League and that he wants to move to Chelsea. They're not seeing a point to go in for a player that has clearly made his decision of his next destination. Now, I'm not going to go into too much on the whole Garnacho situation because we've covered it so many times on this channel so far, because at the moment the updates are just saying the same. But for this particular situation, that he's coming out and telling Man United that it's Chelsea or nothing, he has put them in a situation where they're going to have to accept a lower fee than the £50 million price that they are asking for. That it's going to happen because they have now got a player that is willing to just sit there and do nothing if he doesn't get the desired destination that he wants. And Man United need the cash. They've not really sold any players. They're going out and spending big money. They spent big money on Sesko. They've sent, big money on Mbuemo and Cunha. So they've spent quite a bit of money, but not brought in a lot. So they are going to need money. I know Man United fans are sitting there going, no, we want him gone, but don't let Chelsea fleece us for a cheap price. We should be getting the same price as what Madueke and Gittins have gone for, because they're the same sort of caliber player. With United fans, it can be a bit delusional sometimes because, unfortunately, in this situation, their club do not have the power. We have the power, and we are willing to wait till the end of the transfer window to get this deal done. But there is a player that could push United to do this quickly, and that is Carlos Baleba. And I can't believe I'm saying this again, but Brighton look to sell another midfielder for £100 million. Where do they find these players, and how are they still doing this? I mean, they fleeced us for so much money, but I can't complain because the players that we've got from them in terms of Cucurella, João Pedro, Moises Caicedo, they have lived up and repaid their price tag, completely. So I'm not complaining about that. The only one with Sanchez is a bit 50-50. We'll see. He may improve and get better, and we'll be talking about him at the end of the season saying, what a steal for, like £25 million, I think we bought him for in the end. But if they're going to move and shift another midfielder and make another 100 million quid, I mean, their recruitment is unreal. I can't lie. And the way that they shift players and, bring money in for the players that they do have, it's incredible. You've got to commend them in that aspect, that they do know how to bring in good players and shift them on for good money. So this is the latest on the Carlos Baleba situation. Brighton are fully informed about Manchester United's interest in Carlos Baleba, but they are totally relaxed as they are still determined to keep him. More talks between the agents and the 21-year-old midfielder are happening in the background. Baleba and Man United remain one to watch until deadline day. This is the type of signing that Man United do need to make. They are desperate for midfield reinforcements, and not only midfield reinforcements, midfield players that will improve their midfield dramatically, and Carlos Baleba is one of those type of players. The issue is the £100 million. Where are Man United going to come up with this type of money? The fact that they've not made any sales, which I have mentioned. Now, they may get him for a little bit cheaper, but if another club comes in, that potentially could create a bidding war, which could increase the price past the 100 million. So United are strapped for cash. They're going to need to find some funding from somewhere. There's lots of players that have been talked about shifting on. Rasmus Højlund's one of them. But at the moment, nothing's really happening. Now, yes, this could go all the way down to deadline day. And when you're talking about signings for £100 million, similar to the Isak situation, although that's sort of gone off at the moment. When you're spending big money, these signings tend to take a lot longer and can go right down to the wire. However, United are going to need to get cash from somewhere. And this is why I think this is the right time for us to push on the Garnacho side, because we know that they need money. We're going, here, look, we'll give you 30 million that you can use to Baleba. We'll take Garnacho off your hands. This is a situation I think could happen. Regardless if this goes all the way down to deadline day, they're going to need to shift on Garnacho. They cannot have a player paying wages, not getting any money in from just sitting there doing nothing for 6 to 12 months. So they are going to need to shift him on and get a fee in. And I think with this Baleba situation, it will force their hand to accept the offer that Chelsea put on the table, even if it is on deadline day. So we will see. They are still interested in Donnarumma. Haven't really seen their links been sort of squashed at all. If they were to get Donnarumma and Baleba, they have definitely improved the areas that they needed to improve last season and will make them a better team and one to watch. So going in to next season, I still think there's still a lot more to do sort of infrastructure-wise and just the club itself before they can push on to be real sort of challengers again. But with those two signings, I think it will definitely give them a better chance. But that is all from me now, guys. If you are enjoying this content, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Feedback is always greatly appreciated. But for now, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one.